This is another video in the series Getting Started with Extreme Vigilance from Scianta Analytics. In this video, we're going to walk through the steps of creating a resource mapping for loading identities and assets from an external system as actors into Extreme Vigilance. Let's start by going to the Manage menu and selecting Resource Mapper.
And by default, we come with a couple mappings. Speaking of Splunk Enterprise Security app, we have a couple mappings already. For they have an identity CSV file where they identify actors. And they also have an assets file where they identify assets. What we're going to do is we're going to take a sample of an identity CSV that has been extended with some additional geographic information. Now there's two ways we could approach this. We could take this existing mapping and just modify it and update it, or we could go through creating a whole new resource mapping from scratch. Well, we're going to take that approach. So let's go ahead and click on create a new resource mapping. And we're going to call this ES Actors Extended. As I mentioned, this particular file has additional geographic information. Entities file with extended info, geographic. Alright, so the identities is actors. So in our system, we want it to map directly to actors in the system, and we support several different types, and we just capture different attributes about them. We're going to stay with person. So here's the interesting part. We're going to take that actual identity CSV file, because the CSV format, the first row in the file is a header. It actually identifies all the columns in there, has a name for the column. So let's pick this file. Actors ES Extended CSV I have here ready, and it was automatically loaded. It's a relatively not too big of a file, and what it's done now is it's discovered each one of those column headers, and we're going to know that's what the inputs are that we want to map to the fields within our Extreme Vigilance app. So still go to the next step. You'll notice we already pulled them out. They're all listed here. Every field that was in that CSV file is here. Let's take a look at that CSV file. If I look at an Excel, you'll notice that this is a good example. The very first row has all the column headers in it, and here's the ones that have been extended and added to the city, country, latitude, and longitude. And maybe not all of them have them set, but we have definitely some information in here that we can use. Okay, let's get back to our app. So we're going to start mapping it. Now, interesting characteristics about that identities file is that first column, identity, that usually can be one or more values in there. And we're going to take the very first value as the primary identifier for this actor. And if there's any others, we'll just consider them additional IDs. And we're going to go through the list and kind of take that same approach. So look, it tells me right away, right here, required output fields. So at a minimum, I have to map at least these 4 fields on our Extreme Vigilance side. We have a field called criticality, the first name for the person, their ID, and as well as their last name. The other fields are all additional information, but we have to have those at a minimum. So we know the identity field has, well, here, let's just map the first parameter in their ID. And we also know that in our world, we also add all the alternative IDs into a separate field. So it's a little tricky to do this mapping. It's not a straight copy. We were actually going to split the values from this into multiple fields. So the first value going to ID, the rest will go into alternate IDs, and they're all space separated. And to help us do this transformation, we're actually going to do a tokenize and extract. So the separator is a space. The very first token we're going to take is going to be the ID. The rest will go into alternate IDs. So that one's a little complicated, but the rest are pretty straightforward. It's like the input field B unit. That's a business unit in our world, and that's the name of the field. We're just going to directly copy the value. Category. That could be one or more values, but once again, in our system, Extreme Vigilance, we have a field that's called category list, and we're just going to copy those values over too. Same with email, is a direct copy. End date. Now this is interesting. The fields in that file, if we had looked at it, Bring it back up again. It's very important to understand this data. So they got start dates and end dates. Those actual dates are in a string format. No end dates here. Wait, here we go. Start dates. They're in a string format. Well, in Extreme Vigilance, everything's stored as an epoch. So we need to do a conversion on that. So let's take that, where is it? End date. We do want to copy this value into our corresponding end date field, but we want to do a transformation on it. And this is a date string to epoch. We actually have one in there. So they'll take their format. It's already preceded correctly. So that's done. The conversion will happen. Now the first is first name in our world. Just copy the value. Last is last name. We're just going to copy that value over. So a lot of these mappings are pretty straightforward. Managed by, hey, the field is the same name. Input name, nickname. Now we don't have a nickname field in our world, so we're going to leave it at none. We're not even going to map that into our system. Phone, we have a field for phone. Well, we support 2 phone numbers, and you have a phone 2. We'll put that in phone 2. Prefix, yes, we support prefix. The name is the same. Priority. Now this is a little different. In ES, priority field in the identities is either low, medium, high, or critical. In Extreme Vigilance, the field is called criticality, and it's a numeric scale from 0 to 10, as it mentions right here in the text. So we're actually going to do something a little special here. It's a value mapping because we want to convert those string values to a numeric. And if they happen to not have a value in there, we just need to assign one in that scale of 1 to 10. We'll keep it low. And you can actually change the value. So we kind of set it by default, low, medium, high, and critical, and set the values appropriately. And we could adjust anything from this default to another value. No other special transformation done. We're just going to translate the strings into new numbers. Start date, once again, it's a date string as we saw in that CSV file. So we need to convert that. The field is the same name, but we want to copy the value in, but we need to transform it to an epoch. And it's preceded already with the right date format. Suffix, we have the same field over here. Watch list, we have the same field in our system too. City, we have a field called city. Country, these are just straightforward copy the values over, but we're mapping them to the appropriate names. So like lat in the input file goes to our latitude, LNG goes to our longitude. So we basically now have set up every mapping that we want. Every input field, we know where it goes. And we did address the required fields. Each one of those is set, so we should be able to move to the next step. Let's go ahead and save the resource mapping. It did successfully save it. And we have the ability to test it right now too, without actually loading the actors into our system. Let's give that a test. Here's the actual file. Let's run the mapper on it. It says it's able to successfully process it. So we did a pretty good job here. Now next tab, there is an actual summary here so we can kind of see what is all in the mapping. Okay, so the mapping will now show up in our list. And we created this ES actors extended. So let's actually load these actors into our system. There's an actual run button. So we're going to take this mapping and make sure I've got the right mapping selected. Yes. So let's pick the file. And this time we're actually going to load it into the system. We're no longer testing. We feel pretty confident about what we got. We're going to run the resource mapper and we're done. So let's go ahead and take a look at all these actors that we just loaded into the Extreme Vigilance application. Under the Manage menu, you notice I have there's 2 selections for the resources, actors and assets, and we just did the actors. So let's go ahead and click into that view, and you'll notice that we have all kinds of different criteria that we can use to search or filter down the list of actors that we have. So I'm going to go ahead and search for one of these guys. just limit the list down as a very simple basic example. And I can go ahead and click into the details of this actor. Let's just click on the button, the link. And you'll notice we have a wealth of information about this actor. Of course, there are certain fields that we had mapped, but there's a lot more that we do have, information that we can capture. I mean, if you look here, we could actually add in an avatar for this actor. Because this actor information, as we detect anomalies and threats, we will tie in actor details with that report or dashboard or table, wherever that is, of listing to show you actor information and even provide you the ability to click back in here for more details. You can easily adjust the criticality of this actor. And as you notice, there's a lot of other parameters, tags we could add for searching, owners, managed by, birth dates, gender, start date, end dates, and more importantly, what we had extended was location information. So that identity CSV file that we loaded had city, country, and some latitude, longitude information, and we basically pulled all that information into here. Just note that we just went through and showed you how to take a CSV file with actor information, create a mapping so we could load those fields and map them, and then actually run that mapping and load those actors into the system. We could have done the same thing with assets. It's the same process. So this concludes the video. Thank you.